Today I will be making a number cake, and usually these are made with cookie or meringue base, but today I will show you how I make mine, which is Earl Grey Chiffon number cake. So let's get started. First, into a mixing bowl, add in 30 grams of vegetable oil. Then in a microwavable cup or jar, heat up 30 grams of milk for about 30 seconds to a minute, or just until the milk is hot enough for you to steep your tea bag. And steep the tea for about 2 minutes. And what I found helpful is that since there is only so much milk, you can use a spoon and gently press and stir the tea bag in the milk to help release the tea flavor. Next, into the bowl with the oil, pour in the milk tea, and I would recommend doing this over a scale just to make sure you have 30 grams of milk after steeping it. And if you're short, simply add in plain milk to top it up. Give this mixture a really good mix. You want to emulsify the oil and milk, otherwise your cake will separate during baking and you'll see a dense cake layer at the bottom of your pan. Next, we will need to separate 2 eggs, and really the easiest way is to separate 1 egg at a time. Crack it into a clean bowl and remove the yolk carefully using your hand like this. Add both the egg yolks into the oil and tea mixture and mix it well. And once it's well combined, sift into it 40 grams of cake flour. Next, with a balloon whisk, gently mix together flour and the egg mixture until all the flour is incorporated. And be careful not to overmix at this stage, otherwise your batter will create gluten and your chiffon cake will either not rise or it will crack on the top. So one way to prevent this is to mix the batter from side to side instead of drawing circles. And to that, add in 13 grams of sugar and mix until it's well combined. And your batter should look like this. The consistency should be slightly lava-like, but still runny. Into your stand mixer bowl or any bowl that you're using, make sure it is oil-free and as dry as possible. Add in 2 egg whites and mix it at low to medium speed. When your egg white starts to foam up, which on my stand mixer took about a minute or so, this is when you add your first 1/3 of the sugar and continue mixing it at low to medium speed. When the meringue starts to form, gradually add in the remaining 2/3 of sugar and continue beating it at low to medium speed. But just keep an eye on the meringue, because once it reaches a soft peak stage like this, where the tip of the meringue still dangles off the whisk, it means the meringue is not too far off to a medium peak stage, which is what we want. Keep mixing until you reach a medium peak stage, which looks like this, whereby when you pull up the whisk from the meringue holds a peak instead of dangling off, and this is when you should stop. Now comes the slightly tricky part, which is to fold the meringue into the egg batter. We need to fold it quickly and gently so that the batter does not deflate and that we don't introduce too much air into the mixture. So first we need to take about 1/4 to 1/3 of the meringue, the egg whites, and mix it into the egg batter to lighten it up. Pour in the remaining of the egg whites into the batter and start folding. And I like to fold it this way, whereby one hand holding the bowl and the other holding the spatula. Cut through the batter from 12 o'clock down to 6 o'clock and scraping the bowl from the bottom up to 9 o'clock. And just keep repeating the process and spinning the bowl as you go. Be careful not to overmix the batter. Once it is incorporated, it is ready for the pan. I'm using a 25 by 35 centimeter sheet pan, and of course any pan you have will do the job as long as it fits the letter or the alphabet template that you want to use. And as you can see, I actually did not end up using the entire pan as my template is a bit smaller. So instead I folded the baking paper into the size I wanted. And since the batter is not too runny, the baking paper actually holds its shape pretty well throughout the baking process. Pour the chiffon cake batter into the lined sheet pan and using a spatula, quickly smooth the batter out into all 4 corners. Bake your cake on the lower rack at 160 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes. Each cake is 1 layer, so to make my number 23 cake, I needed 2 layers for each number, so that's 4 cakes in total. And of course, if you have more pan, you can make them all at once instead of making it 4 times like I did. When the cake is cooked and has cooled down, we will start the carving process. Cut out the number or the alphabets that you wish to use and carefully line it onto the top of the cake. And and then using a sharp or a serrated knife, gently carve out the cake against the template. Next, we will make the decoration, which is simply whipping cream and sugar whipped together to a stiff peak stage. Of course, if you prefer to make this into an Earl Grey infused whipped cream, simply steep a bag of Earl Grey into 50 grams of whipped cream, let it cool down, and then add that into the remaining of the cream and whip it together. And here I have a piping bag fitted with a round nozzle, and place the piping bag into a tall cup like this. And then transfer some of the whipped cream into the piping bag. You don't want to transfer a huge amount at a time because you will be piping the cream onto the cake and your warm hands could potentially melt the cream. So it's best to work with a small amount of cream quickly each time. Place your numbers or your alphabets on a serving tray, or if you have cardboard that are carved out to the same numbers or the alphabets like mine right here, it will make the transport of the cake a lot easier. So start piping onto the first layer of the cake, and you want to pipe a border around the cake before you start piping the center of the cake. And the reason for that is simply to give the cake a cleaner look. And then as you are working your way through the cake, fill up the center or any empty bits with more cream. Once the bottom layer of the cake has been completely covered, carefully line the second layer of the cake on top of each other and repeat the piping process. Next is my favorite part, which is to decorate the cake. I have with me some chocolates, gummies, fondant flour, and some fresh flowers that I have previously washed, as well as some edible sprinkles. Of course, feel free to use what you have and decorate according to your own color scheme. And there you have it, a super easy and fun to make number cake. Hope you enjoyed this video.